morning, YouTube. It's Beck here from Sewbecurated. Sorry, I forgot who I was for a second. I am showing you a couple of slow stitching projects that I'm working on at the moment. And the reason I'm doing so is somebody asked for kind of a better look at this one that's under the camera at the moment. And I wanted to share where I'm up to on my last Needlebook. Now, we have so much going on in our life that I haven't made a lot of progress. We've got one child finishing school in a couple of weeks. We're trying to choose a school for my youngest to go to school to go to high school at. What else have we got? My aunt has died this morning, which is just incredibly sad. She was somebody that shared vintage textiles with me. Actually, I'll show you. This is a beautiful, beautiful ribbon that or lace that she once gave me. And before I was really into vintage textiles, but she knew I was into stitching. And I think I actually might need to incorporate some of that into this project now that I see it there. My mum is incredibly unwell. I'm down in Melbourne this weekend to help my dad, my brother is away. What else is going on? Oh, the shop. I just drove past just before and lots more of the walls are plastered. And look, we've got a moving date, which is in a week and a half. We finish up at the shop next Thursday, and then pack it down and then move all the stuff out of our house. Anyway, all the things. To keep myself sane-ish during this period, I have been loving, like absolutely loving, working on this piece. Now, when I started it, I called it I See You and I Love You, which was my reminder to myself that was my most important role as my children's mother. That I see them for who they are and I love them for who they are. And my expectations or my kind of journey as a parent is just to support and to love them. And the rest of it is kind of irrelevant. And sometimes that can be hard with teenagers when they push lots of boundaries. So I've been working on this. I kind of pinned it together quite quickly, tacked it down, and it's quite large. It's about 80 centimeters by a meter. So this area up here is just tacked down. I've done absolutely nothing in that. And down here is also not complete. So I've started stitching into this area and just doing some thread painting here. And this doily here is just tacked down. But through the center here, so I've got to finish off the top. Is that out of camera? Yes. Sorry, the top here. But through the center here is kind of almost finished. I just need to finish the weave stitch in here, and I'm going to weave stitch up here as well. I love a bit of weave stitching. I haven't dealt with this textile at all. It's attached down this end, but just tacked up this end. This is stitched on. This is such a fine, it was, I think, a teapot. And it's so fine. And what I've done with that, let me zoom in for you. Is that nice and, yeah. Is just done a single strand of embroidery thread, and it's a variegated one, and just kind of seed stitched all over it outside of the daisy and this beautiful orange flower, and just kind of put them on like that. I didn't want to muck with that textile at all. And then I quite like how this kind of comes over the top, almost like a cobweb. So this one here is a bit broken, and that's almost my favorite type of textile to work with. I've done a lot of what I call secret stitching, which is just using the Metla thread that I really enjoy to use to attach this down wherever you can't see it. So in this pink bit, I have, where there is the white embroidery or where there is this drawn thread work, I have done some secret stitching. And I'm just going to come back out again. And, you know, different, like the textiles haven't been all dealt with the same way. Like even within, so this is actually a new piece of fabric. It's from Lucello, which is a beautiful Australian designer. And I have thread painted part of it. I've just done some French knots in part of it. And some of it is kind of loose because it's very beautiful like it is. So I've just kind of followed my heart on where I wanted to go with it. I was a bit lost in this section here. I really liked this doily was from my mum, but it was a bit plain. It was just a kind of a lump of white surrounded by colour, and I was unhappy with that. And then I have attached, also by Secret Stitching, this beautiful kind of applique tulip. I think that's, no, it probably isn't a tulip. I'm not even sure what fabric, a flower that is. But that was also from my mum. And, you know, when you're working on something like slow stitching, you are spending a lot of time sifting your thoughts. And I've got a lot of thoughts about my mum and her quality of life at the moment and how awful it is with Alzheimer's and, you know, what that means to a woman who was incredibly proud and put herself together incredibly well. And, you know, it's just, you know, what it means to my dad. And I don't know, it's been a really hard kind of journey to watch her very rapid, she had early onset Alzheimer's or dementia, and, you know, her demise since the start of the year has been very rapid. And I do not think she is long for the world. And that is both heartbreaking and a big relief. And if you've been in a situation like this, you'll probably understand what I mean by that. Anyway, back to this piece. This piece has been my saviour during a really rough kind of period of life. We've had too much on our plate. Just every turn that we go to, there is too much on our plate. And we're really ready for some of these things to finish. Now, I'm thinking when I have finished this work, I may get it stretched onto, like, framed up and stretched into a frame. I'm not sure about that, but that's what I'm thinking. It will definitely go on the wall. Like, it's a big piece and it was intended for the wall. I'm also not happy about this resolution in here, so I need to play, I think, more with the center of that. I might do some quadrants in there, or like stitch out the quadrants that are there, or I don't know, something. Now, this little bit of daisies was a gift. Oh, it's off the camera, sorry. That little bit of daisies was a little gift from Fleur Wood. So, I don't know. Beautiful, beautiful things to include in here. Favourite textiles, special pieces. As I said, I think I'm going to add this in because it's kind of appropriate at the moment to remember my Auntie Marilyn, who loved textiles and loved beautiful things. And I still have a number of gifts from her from when I was a little girl. And, you know, I don't know, life is so short, isn't it? Which, and we stitch our memories and our love and our hope into these items. And, you know, somebody in the past has stitched their love and hope into this, and now I'm reusing it. So all that humanity, I guess, is stitched into pieces like this. And just while I'm here, I'm going to show you. When I was visiting my dad a couple of weeks ago, and my mum, he gave me this little photo. That's me and my mum. I'm 18 months old there. And I don't know. That's how I'm choosing to hold on to my memories of my mum. Okay, so I didn't mean to get so emotional or kind of talk about all the emotions that are involved in slow stitch so much, except for me, they really are. It can be the joy, the hardships, all the bits of life that make these pieces so special to me. So this is my housewif, the first housewif I made that I made as part of Roxy's Journal of Stitchery when I met Sarah and Rachel. And they have been so kind to me on their channels and with saying that I've inspired some of their things. They certainly inspire me. And I love this kind of slow stitch community that we've got going kind of through YouTube rather than Instagram, which is, you know, a new forum for me. I'm enjoying being on YouTube, kind of. I'm not very good at it, so I apologize. So I wanted to show you where I'm up to with my last Needlebook, and I'm going to zoom you in a bit so that it's a little bit better quality for you to see. So I am still completely unattached through the center of my Needlebook. And this blue felt on the outside here will actually be the inside of my cover of my Needlebook. So this is all I have achieved so far with the third Needlebook, but I thought it might be useful to see what happens here. Now, I had quite a busy, like, kind of vintage textile, and I have done 2 types of what I call cantha stitching. I'm going to really zoom in for you. I hope that's in focus. Up the top, you probably can see it better. I've used a pearl 8 thread, and I don't like it. I did it because I did it at the airport, and that's the thread that I had available to me. And then at the bottom, so those cantha stitches go this way. And then at the bottom here, I've got a very fine linen thread from France that I have cantha stitched this way. And I much prefer that. Gives some textural elements to it without overwhelming. And I mean, you know, this is an ecru color. It's not overwhelming. I just prefer this. So, you know, experiment with your threads that you use, because it really does result in a different kind of feel and look. I also put a little row of blue stitches I often use across as part of the stitches. And I added in this part of a doily that has this gorgeous applique. Like, that is just so, I hope you're in focus, gorgeous. And then I used a little French laundry tag with BB for Beck Brennan. But I use them with, like, they don't have to match my initials for me to love them. And I put a little bit of linen underneath and blanket stitched around. Now, the blue blanket stitch on the edge here was part of the doily. I've just added that extra row of stitching. And so on the back, I've attached that all to a piece of batting. Now, to form the outside, so I'm just going to pull that bundle that I had before apart. That will all be attached together. And I will do that. I'll trim those off so that they're the same front and back, and I will attach them around the edges with a blanket stitch. I like to do that. And the wool felt is attached here with that batting just to give it a little bit more weight to the project. So, of course, it has internal leaves as well, which are going to come in. But that is kind of where we go from here. So I've stitched the outside. I didn't want all those stitches to come through on the felt, so I've done it while it was apart. The next step in this project is, now I've pulled it apart. I don't even know which way it was meant to go. I think I think it went this way. So these are all just pinned together. This is going to be a pocket this way, and this is going to be a pocket that way. And my leaves are not necessarily all the same, what would you call that, width, or like all to the edges of the book. Like, I quite like them to be a bit different. This piece of felt will go in the middle. That will get trimmed down as well. I love this piece of cut work and embroidery. Like, that's hand embroidered, and it's just beautiful. And I will have that so that the nicest side of it, the work is very neat, but the nicest side sits up because the book is most likely to sit upwards for me. And then into the center, I'm going to put this little pink doily with some embroidery, and that, besides a little bit of quilt. And I had a piece in here, but then a lovely lady from the shop who I know through the shop, she's not actually from the shop, Jean, gifted me this little bit of quilted like a little piece of cutter quilt, and I like to add things on that remind me of when I did that. So I'm going to use that as a pocket at the back there. So now I'm at this stage. The next thing I do is just seam through the center of here. So I make sure I'm in the middle of my book, so it needs to be folded evenly, and then I'm just going to do a row of stitching. And because I haven't finished any of my edges or any of those things, I like to work from like about 1 centimeter in and 1 centimeter in at the other end as well. I often do a little cross at that point, and that's for appearance, it's for nothing else. And then I can start kind of finishing off edges, and I will attach something onto here because I don't like how that looks. But that is a purely decorative kind of choice that I will make. And some of the things that I have in my hooswif with this project are, the other side of that doily. I probably wouldn't put that there just because this is already, like, it's same together. I guess I probably wouldn't. I might attach that there to cover this. So you'd kind of, sort of might actually do. This is why it's useful to have them all set out and kind of play with what you're doing, is attach those together so it's lovely from both sides. And then I would trim this larger doily. I might not even trim that larger doily, I might just make sure all the stitching is covered. And if you have a look at this, you can see that it's slightly skewiff, like there's more of it to this side than this side. It doesn't worry me at all with this type of a project. I kind of love it. And I might just stitch this one with little metler thread onto this one. So I've just added another page in there. And I just check that still feels really nice in my hand. And it does, it feels lovely. And I'm not sure what I'm going to use as my, this is the linen thread that I've been using. It's beautiful. I've got a number of things here that I could tie with. That's quite lovely. This is also lovely. This is the last little bit of the rickrack. And then I've got this lovely one as well. So watch this space for how this one comes together. I will probably add some pink into the stitching, maybe some fluoro pink, because I do love a touch of fluoro pink. And I think this is going to be a beautiful medium-sized needlebook. Now, just while I'm here, somebody asked what size I'm making it. I'm often, actually, just one sec. So when I'm making a needlebook like this, sometimes it's the size of the print that determines the size of it. But the most important thing for me is that it feels like a nice bundle in my hands. It needs to feel like a little parcel of love. And this one does. Now, because the outside of this, so I'm just going to take out, because now we've laid it back out, that center, because the outside of this is not, this fabric here doesn't really need to be a certain size. I've just chosen something I like, and I'll just tell you how big it is. 6.5. It is about 8.5 inches by 6.5 inches. That is about how big my needlebook is going to end up. Now, with a piece like this, absolutely that's the size I would make it. If I am using a different piece of fabric, let me find something. Here we go. Say I had used this as the outside of my needlebook, and this is just so divine to me. I don't like it. That's too long, too narrow. Like, it just doesn't, it feels the wrong shape to me. If I was using this, I would probably make it about the same size. But you could do just this bit, but I kind of love this rickrack in here. Look at that piece. Is that not divine? So I love working with these vintage textiles. I love working with new fabrics as well. I just love working with fabrics, and I really love to stitch my memories and my hopes and my dreams into these pieces. Okay, YouTube, thanks for being here. Hope you're all still here after this. Thank you. I've had lots of new subscribers, and I think maybe from the Roxy sisters and maybe from Kate and the Nest. So hello to all of you if you're watching this, but thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate the community that is that I'm becoming a part of. So happy stitching, everybody.